Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever in the world you are. This is just an update on Zimbabwe's elections. ZEC, the Zimbabwe Election Commission, have now submitted their final report, the delimitation report. Basically, this is the last bit there to do. The next thing we are now awaiting is the state president, Emerson Mnangagwa, to declare the date of the elections. And we expect it to be sometime in July, August at the latest. There's going to be now about 6 months since the handover of the final report. What is tragic here is that ZEC has admitted itself that their delimitation report was not based on a verified voters' roll. Zimbabwe has failed to produce a verified voters' roll. Ever since the country's independence in 1980, never. People have asked for verified voters' roll again and again and again, and have never received one. Since 2018, the last election, organizations like Team Pachelu have had to scrounge around for a voters' roll. Although the document is supposed to be public, they could not get it. Whatever they managed to get, they found there were so many errors in it. People being moved from one ward to another ward, sometimes from one ward in one constituency to another ward in another constituency. And the individual themselves didn't know. Zimbabwe is known from past history of having people who have died still on the voters' roll. And in fact, in the elections of 1995, when Margaret Dongo was standing as an independent in Harare South, and the rule then was that as people voted, the election officials were obliged to cancel their names on the voters' roll. When the Margaret Dongo challenged the results of that election, it was found that some people who had died years before the election had their names cancelled. In other words, they had voted. Amazing. The importance of a verified voters' roll cannot be underestimated. This is why it beggars belief that the opposition is still adamant they will participate in these elections without a verified voters' roll. It doesn't make any sense at all. And yet, there we are. Nelson Chamisa and his friends are adamant they are going to participate in these elections. This is the nightmare of Zimbabwe. We keep participating in these elections, which are so flawed that you don't even have something as basic as a verified voters' roll. One is going to ask why. Why are we participating in these elections, knowing fully well that Zanu PF is going to rig them? Specifically here, the opposition, why is it participating? Surely they must know the importance of a verified voters roll. So one has got to interrogate the opposition. The opposition is participating in these elections, knowing fully well that the process is flawed, that Zanu PF is rigging these elections. Yet they are hell bent on participating. Why? Well, the answer to that is very simple. The opposition also know that Zanu PF is giving away a few gravy train seats to entice the opposition to participate. And those who win those few gravy train seats are guaranteed of the generous MP salaries and the very generous MP allowances. One of the allowances that have been standard now is the US $6,000 for a sitting MP allowance to buy a car. And in November last year, it came to light that Mnangagwa had actually improved on that offer. All MPs now, including the Zanu PF ruling party, the ruling party MPs and the opposition MPs, of course, they get a housing allowance of $40,000 US dollars. This is irresistible to the opposition. And that is why they keep on participating. Anyone would think they can persuade the opposition to say no, let's have a proper, free, fair, and credible election, and let's have basic requirements like a verified voters roll in place. Nelson Chamisa and company will not listen to that. They are after the pegs that are being on offer for those who participate in these elections. That is at the heart of our problem. Indeed, it explains why the MDC during the 2008 to 2013, when they had the golden opportunity to implement the democratic reforms, failed to implement even one reform in 5 years. The reason is the same as the reason why they're participating now. During the GNU, Mugabe bribed them with the trappings of high office. MDC leaders, including Nelson Chamisa himself, Tendai Biti, and David Coulthard, and many others, were ministers then. And the perks for the ministers were even more appetizing. They've got ministerial cars, traditionally the Mercedes Benz, plus all the traveling that they could do. And for the prime minister, was Morgan Tsvangirai then, he got the US 4 million Highlands mansion. And of course, that was Varamrom, as we say in Shona. What else could he do? He forgot about the reforms, completely forgot about them. And now they are participating in these elections for the same reasons. Some people have argued that the opposition have no choice, they've got to participate. That is, of course, ridiculous. Elections are a process. Like most processes, they are governed by rules. A basic rule like we must have a verified voters roll is logical. How can we have an election when we don't know who is going to vote? And if they vote, how many times they may be allowed to vote? And in this particular case, when Zanu PF can deny 3 million Zimbabweans in the diaspora the vote, for no other reason than that the party does not trust them to vote for the ruling party. In other words, we've got one party now that is cherry picking on who can be on that voters roll. More so when you know, when you participate, all you are doing is you're not changing the result. All you're doing is giving legitimacy to the vote rigging party. Surely, for anyone, it is rational that you are not give the only choice then is for you to say, well, I'm not going to participate. What's the point of my participating to only give legitimacy to the process? That is exactly what a rational member of the Zimbabwe public out there should do. As for the opposition leaders themselves, like Nelson Chamisa, Tendai Biti, and all the others, they cannot say no to participating because they are not interested in the process being free, fair, and credible. They're not interested in the good governance that comes out of a free, fair, and credible process. All they're interested in is the share of the spoils of power. Of course, they cannot come out and say that. They've got to give a different argument. And their argument is Triple C is winning big. We have got strategies of winning rigged elections. Their flagship strategy was we'll have mass voter registration, and then come the election voting day itself, we'll have mass voting. Well, that strategy is dead in the water. As of 30th of May last year, ZEC itself, who are responsible for the voters' roll, revealed that only 250,000 Zimbabweans had registered to vote since the last election, 2018, to that date, 30th May 2022. That means in the last 4 years, only 250,000 had registered to vote. And even if we assume that 250,000 were all MDC supporters, all it means is MDC, instead of registering 6 million, which was their target, they've only registered 250,000, which is 4%. In other words, their flagship winning in rigged election strategy of mass voter registration was dead in the water. And yet, here we are. They are as passionate and as determined to participate in these elections as ever before. It's not because they don't know the process is rigged. They know that. They are after the few seats that Zanu PF is giving away to entice the opposition to participate. And I think ordinary Zimbabweans need to wake up to that reality. And we should stop keeping on endorsing a flawed process, so flawed that it does not even have something as basic as a registered voters roll. Zanu PF has no motivation to implement to make sure that we've got some of those basic requirements, because they know that the opposition will participate no matter what. And like I said, Mnangagwa himself has seen to it that the opposition will participate and win the elections, they get the reward. And even those who participate and lose, Mnangagwa is rewarding them too. He has created this body called Pollard, where the losers of the election get rewarded. Some of them even get cars, like our friend Professor Lafmo Maduku, because they participated in the election and they endorsed Mnangagwa as the winner of the 2018 elections. And no doubt Pollard will be refarmed after the 2023 elections, and those who participate will be rewarded. The opposition is corrupt. Let me say that again. Zimbabwe's opposition is corrupt. They are participating in these elections out of pure greed, period. Nelson Chamisa and company had the opportunity to implement the democratic reforms that we keep talking about here during the 2008 to 2018 GNU. They failed to implement even one because they are corrupt. Mugabe bought them off. And if we keep on pretending that somehow that doesn't matter, then we have got a problem ourselves. It is ordinary Zimbabweans who really have got to put an effort to put an end to this insanity of participating in flawed elections, so flawed you don't even have something as basic as a verified voters roll, and give legitimacy to the vote rigging Zanu PF. If people come out strongly and condemn the participation and clearly state that they are not participating, reject the lies from people like Chamisa that they're going to win big because they got strategies of winning rigged elections. It is an oxymoron, a stupid argument. We do not want rigged elections. Why would we want to go through a process of a rigged election, which we can't verify? Even Chamisa was to claim that he has won, which he will do, no doubt about it. We can't verify it. Last time he claimed that he had won the 2018 election. When people were asked him, okay, produce the evidence, the V11 forms, of course he didn't have them. He kept saying he will produce them, but never produced them. In his own affidavits that was submitted to the Constitutional Court, there were no V11 forms to account for the 2.6 million votes that he claimed that he had won during that election. We have got to put an end to this circus. We can put an end to it by ourselves standing up and saying we do not want to participate in these meaningless elections, and make that point abundantly clear that the process is flawed, the opposition there's no political credibility at all, and therefore then it is ridiculous that Zanu PF should be given legitimacy, political legitimacy, at the end of a process that is flawed, in which he is accounting on the discredited opposition to participate, to give him legitimacy. That is what we should be aiming for. It is within our reach. We can stop this madness ourselves, and we should do that. Thank you and good night.